Hi, my name is Welch Golightly. I was recently in a documentary entitled Goats about the professional career, 40-year plus professional career of photographer Walter Iooss. I agreed to do the documentary, to be interviewed for it, because Walter and I had a 20-plus year working relationship that was nothing short of incredible. I traveled all over this country and all over the world as a result of our collaboration. And I've always wanted and wondered how I could say thank you and acknowledge the experiences that I had and the way I felt about those experiences. That collaboration actually changed the trajectory of my life and the life of my family for the good. So I thought that at least I could do this documentary and share some of those experiences with whoever watched it, whoever saw it. Now, the good news is I did the documentary. The bad news is that a lot of what I said about Walter the man ended up on the editing floor because, you know, they're doing a documentary. So you have a list of things that are very important. The photographs, again, it's about Walter the photographer and a lot of his classic and iconic photographs. It's about the athletes and their input and his experience with them and their interviews with Walter. So there's not enough time and tape in the world or whatever for everything to be included. So I made this piece because there were things that I felt very strongly about that I wanted to be heard, okay? So, like I said, we worked for 20-some years together. And about 8, 9, 10 years in, the thought came to me, you know, one day I might have the opportunity to share with people what it is that I'm experiencing and seeing, you know, as a result of being in Cuba, Vietnam, all over the Caribbean, Brazil, so forth and so on. And the thought came to me, everybody knows about Walter and his photographs. You know, he's got his photo fans and so forth and so on. And everybody's seen, or a lot of people, enough people have seen the iconic photographs and so forth and so on. But what you didn't see is what it was I want to talk about. And here's a perfect example. There's a real popular photograph out now about a kid that's playing baseball in Cuba. He's on the corner and he's taking a swing at the ball, except it's not a ball, it's a ball of tape. It's not a baseball, it's a ball of tape. And he's playing stick ball and he's in mid-swing and the tape's eye level and there it is and there are kids around him and okay, you've seen the photograph, but what you didn't see is all of the kids and all of the folks standing around us and with us as Walter was doing what he was doing, including the 1 or 2 or 3 young men who, at a certain point, began helping us. You know, they were there. You know, they ended up carrying lenses after they looked through them. We would always share what we were shooting, what Walter was photographing with kids, because a lot of times we were in third world countries and we were in villages and favelas and we were in neighborhoods. And in some cases, a lot of people hadn't seen, you know, a film crew, a photography crew. They hadn't seen these long lenses and the models or the athletes we were photographing. And there we were. So we're in Cuba and we got these kids and we're showing them the long lenses and taking Polaroids of them and so forth and so on. And they just end up becoming part of the shoot. So there's this one kid in particular. He's about 11, 12 years old. He's standing near the 400 millimeter lens, which comes up to his waist, literally. He's, you know, he wasn't the tallest cat. And he's got my photo vest on. And in one pocket, he's got black and white Polaroid film. In the other pocket, he's got color Polaroid film. In one pocket, he's got medium format black and white film. In the other pocket, he's got medium format color film. He's got 35 millimeter film, black and white, so forth and so on. That's my man. But my vest is literally between his knees and his ankles. All right. So, and he's with us through that particular shoot and on throughout the rest of the day. Okay, we told him after the shoot was over, we're coming back tomorrow. So if you're around, we'll be here at the same time. All right, so the very next day, we drive up, and before we get out of the cars, we noticed this gentleman coming across the street towards us. And as he gets to the vehicle that we're in and as we're getting out, he's asking us, "Are you the Americans? Are you the photographer?" He didn't quite understand. He said that my nephew came home yesterday and all he talked about was the Americanos, the Americanos. Understand, this kid didn't speak English. So he's like 11, 12, and I don't know what he knows about America, but he just kept saying Americanos, Americanos. And he's trying to describe photography or the cameras and the big lenses. And so I guess this was his uncle, if I remember correctly. It was his uncle. And he's wondering all night long, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? So he comes and he, finds out who we are, introduces himself, so forth and so on. And the kid spends the rest of the day with us. Okay, all right. 1 year later, I have a friend who's a photographer who calls me and tells me he's going to Cuba. I said, okay, do me a favor, man, and do yourself a favor while you're at it. I have the phone number of the Cuban who facilitated our shoot, okay? I'm gonna give you these photographs of this kid, because Walter and I took photographs of the kid and other kids and other people while we were there. And I had some printed, and I said, take these photographs, have the guy find the kid. He'll be able to find the kid. And they found the kid at the school. I'm sorry I keep calling him kid. It was so long ago, and I forgot his name, so forth and so on. So anyway, they find him at the elementary school, okay, a year later. Now, the young man's eyes are this big, right? The classroom empties. My friend told me the classroom next door emptied. He told me the classroom across the hall emptied. Eventually, the whole school emptied, and this kid was like king for a day. But the photographs, all right, of himself with all this equipment and the photographers and so forth and so on. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to talk about, what it was you didn't see. When we got to Cuba, the very first day, we're checking into the hotel. I was stopped prior to going into the lobby by the doorman out front, because Cubans aren't allowed in a lot of facilities, and in this case, hotels, and they thought I was Cuban until I explained, no, I'm staying here. I'm an American. I'm here on a project. And then Now, what happened after that was the guy that helped facilitate our shoot while we were in Cuba, he would come and join us in the morning. We'd go to location and we'd come back and he'd say his goodbyes. Well, that lasted about 2 days. The third day in, he's in the lobby. He's coming with us into the lobby. The fourth day, he's in the cocktail lounge with us as we unwind after the job. The fifth day, he and an associate of his are in the cafeteria with us having dinner. It got to the point where he was having lunch and dinner with us on a number of occasions. And the Cubans, the employees at the hotel, took notice. And so I'm coming down for breakfast the next day, and I noticed the employees I'm making eye contact all around the room. They know who we are. They're responding to the fact that, hey, that's that guy. That's the film crew. Those are the photographers. And that one guy, Walter's, real cool. And as a result of that, shortly after that, I get a knock on the door. And it's one of the hotel employees. And he asked me if, when I had the time, it was okay with him if he was able to practice his English. Because tourism is a big deal in Cuba. And one of the ways to get a good job, a managerial job, so forth and so on, was to learn English, all right? So he said, the only people I get to speak English with are the Cubans, other Spanish-speaking folk. So was it okay, all right, if he practiced his English with me? Yeah, sure, man, whatever I can do to help. All right, 3 people later, because now then one of his friends comes, and then somebody else comes. So the picture I'm trying to paint is that, once again, it's more than just, the pictures that you saw. We were involved in people's lives, and it was as a result of Walter. Those are 2 examples. All right, I got some more stories here for you. Let's see, where we at? All right, the hotel. One of the things it was a big deal. Okay, so now these guys are practicing. It meant so much to them just to have a conversation in English, okay? They were saying, their way of saying thank you was to invite me to their homes for dinner. Now, they lived in cement cinder block homes that they built themselves. The one guy built one for his family. He and his father built one for the grandparents. And there was another one for his brother and his family, so forth and so on. They invited me to their homes. They cooked a pig for me. This pig cost them 6-month wages. It meant that much to them to say thank you, that they were willing to cook this pig in the ground, and the cost of the pig was literally 6-month wages, and they wouldn't take any money for it. They wouldn't take any money for it. At a certain point I had to stop, because then it gets potentially insulting or condescending. But can you imagine how much that meant to me? They cooked this pig in the ground for a day or 2. And again, now, don't get it twisted. This was not a luau. This was rough, rugged, and raw. There was no marmalade sauce. There was no pig du jour. This was pure pig, out of the ground, rice and beans, and no dessert. But it meant that much to them because they had been touched, all right, as a result of Walter and I being on the island. Let me see what else I got here. I'm invoking the over 60 rule. I'm 66 and a half. I'm not trying to remember anything anymore. So I got my playbook, my homework, and I'm gonna have to resort to that. Yeah, I got the glasses too. Anyway, so, all right. I have another one for you. Like the first 2, it literally sums up what happened every day for the 17 days that we were there. You've seen the photograph of the swimmer who is about to dive in the pool, into the pool. It's sort of like a headshot, head and shoulders, and the water's dripping off and everything, okay? Nice photograph. Another nice photograph. What you didn't see was me over there standing with the camera bags. All right? Now, from the second floor of the building behind me, there are these kids. Once again, they're like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. And they're pointing. They keep pointing. They're speaking Spanish. They're saying something in Spanish I don't understand. And they're pointing. They're pointing at the camera bag. What they were pointing at was the fact that we would put lenses inside socks, okay? Sometimes when you're traveling, locations and so forth, you got the dust factor, this and that. So photographers would put their lenses in socks, sort of just like a layer of protection. These guys are pointing at the socks, all right? We're in Cuba, this is third world country, all right? They're pointing at the socks. They are asking me from the second floor of the building behind me if they can have those socks. What am I going to say, man? Are you kidding me? All of a sudden, I don't have enough socks. So Walter takes his pictures, and he comes back, and we're packing up, and it's like, hey, oh, by the way, hey, Walter, hey, your socks? Nah, they're not yours anymore. And they're gone, and they've been gone, all right? Now, those are a few examples, but that also happened here in the United States on a different level. Walter photographed the late, great Kobe Bryant when Kobe first got to town. A week before his first training camp with the Lakers, he was 17 years old. It was just Walter and I and Kobe, except I told Walter, hey man, I'm gonna invite my partner, and he's gonna bring his two sons, all right? There won't be any, hey, Kobe, Kobe. There won't be any autographs and all that. They'll be over there on the side, and they'll straight chill. And it was cool, all right? Actually, at a certain point, they ended up, once again, helping with the shoot. They're spraying water on Kobe, making him look like he's sweating. The other one's passing Kobe the ball. Kobe looks like he's about to shoot. AJ and Ryan, now, they were kids then, junior high school age. They're adults now with their own kids. But anyway, those two went from two friends of mine to 2 carloads of kids over the years. And I never asked Walter at any point anymore if that was cool. He knew what time it was. He didn't seem to mind. And once again, it wasn't, hey, Kobe, 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 or autographs and this and that. But what I would do at various locations when we were shooting Kobe on various occasions, at various locations, I'd tell my friends, and they would bring 2, 3, 4 kids, all right? And the kids would be at a distance, and they're taking it all in. Now, like I said, Walter knew what time it was. See that, be that. You know all those kids, they're at the age, everywhere, kids were 8, 9, on up to about 14, 15. You know, that's the age when the boys want to be basketball players or football players, or especially basketball players because there's Kobe. But guess what? Guess what? Some of them want to be photographers as a result of, oh man, that's cool. Look what he's doing. Look what he did. Look what he's gonna do. Next, who's next? Who are you photographing next? Okay? All right. One of those kids, or let me say it this way, nothing's free, okay? And here's the hook. Those kids were invited to these shoots, but only with the understanding that you got to get good grades, man. You got to do your schoolwork. And you got to walk the straight and narrow, man. Nothing's free, all right? Somebody else could be here, but they aren't. You are, all right? Now, to illustrate and let you know how big this got, one of the kids, being a kid, at 14 years old, took his mother's van, unbeknownst to mom. He took the van and went for a little drive, a little ride around town, the immediate neighborhood, a few streets over, around the block, and so forth and so on. But he also brought his 10, 11-year-old brother, and they got caught. All right. So here's mom. Wait till your dad gets home. And not only wait till your dad gets home, but wait till I tell Welch. Now, what's the big deal there? Walter's the big deal. That's the hook. You did something you knew you weren't supposed to do. And I'm going to tell Welch, because you two had an agreement. You two had a deal. And that's a deal breaker. Once again, not because of me, but because of Walter. And in terms of the big picture, Walter knew what time it was. After a while, we're doing shoots for Gatorade, Adidas, so forth and so on, that involve Kobe. And like I said, I was always able to have kids come watch all of that. And Walter never really, like, you know, let me know that, hey man, it might not be a good idea, or hey man, I've got a lot of pressure right now, this or that. It was. He knew what time it was, all right? In fact, on occasion, he would joke. We're photographing Kobe, there are 8 or 9 kids. He's saying, which one of those are yours? All of them? You know, okay, all right. But the point is that, you know, you see what I'm saying. Again, you saw the photographs, but you didn't see, you know, the other part of the photograph, all right? And speaking of Kobe, in the documentary, I talked a lot about the relationship between Walter and the various athletes we photographed. Walter's a very personable guy, a very accomplished guy, and he had traveled a lot all over the world. I used to call him Coast to Coast Iooss was the nickname. And Kobe, man, bless his heart, phenomenal cat. They would just talk, man, about Italy, about their kids after Kobe had his kids, about basketball, about Kobe's father and the various games that Jumpin' Joe Bryant played in over the years that Walter and I would see it on TV. I was probably in high school, out of high school when Jelly Bean Jumpin' Joe Bryant was playing. But he and Kobe would have all these conversations. And that was what I was privileged to. All right. In addition to a paycheck, I was privileged to being in the company of Joe Montana. He and Walter chopped it up like, you know, they had already been lifelong friends. Jim Brown. We were with Jim Brown for a whole day. I think all I said was hi and bye. I'm all ears. It was like being in the front row of your favorite high school class with your favorite teacher, all right? Reggie Jackson. For 2 days, they talked about baseball, baseball players, and golf. Except, man, it's Reggie Jackson. He and Jim Brown all day. Except, man, it's Jim Brown. He and Joe Montana. Man, that's Joe, talking about his high school days, so forth and so on. I got to get back to my notes. I don't want to miss a thing, all right? Hold on. I don't want anything to end up forgotten, you know, that was left out of the documentary, so I'm going to get back to my notes. What do I have here? Okay, all right, all right. Reggie Jackson, Jim Brown, Kobe. How about Jerry West? The logo, the NBA logo, Jerry West. We've taken the photograph for Jerry and the cover of his book. I'm hearing stories that are in the book. You got to read the book. Okay, we're finished taking pictures. We're saying our goodbyes. They're chopping it up. I got Jerry West and Walter in the driveway at Jerry's home. Walter's saying, Jerry, what was the best way, or what would have been the best way to D you up? So I got these two pretending they're playing basketball in the driveway. But these two is Walter Iooss and Jerry West, all right? They're in the driveway pretending to play basketball. There's not a ball in sight, and between the two of them, only one of them has tennis shoes on, all right? But there's Walter giving him the forearm, D'ing him up, all right? And then somehow, some way, all of a sudden there's a golf club. Now they're talking about golf and their swings and so forth and so on, and their respect and admiration for various golfers, Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, and so forth. And the thing about Walter is that, you know, when you're with athletes, they want to talk about other athletes. So Jerry wants to talk about photographs that he has seen Walter take of famous athletes, you know, so forth and so on. At moments, you know, the catch with Dwight Clark, Joe Montana and Dwight Clark when the 49ers beat the Cowboys. That's what they want to talk about. I got one for you. How about Walter? Walter's like, you know, he's like mixing a good drink. You know, he's like gin. You can put this in it, you can put that in it. Or he's like tequila. You can put this in it and that in it, and an umbrella. Here's a conversation I'll never forget between him and Jimmy Connors. We had photographed Jimmy for his book, his autobiography. And afterwards, we're having lunch. Well, they played golf, and then we had lunch. And as we're sitting there, Jimmy's talking about his life, his book, so forth and so on, his experiences. And it's like, man, wow. I was going to read the book, or buy it, but, you know, I just got it firsthand, so to speak. That was incredible. And I'll tell you who I'll never forget. And pure pleasure to be around. All of them were. And speaking of Magic, there's a reason he's called Magic. The guy is phenomenal, all right? A phenomenal person. I wish that on everybody, that you could be in the company of Magic Johnson. Truly, truly an angel. And so is Kevin Garnett. Man, Kevin Garnett, sweet kid, a whole lot of fun, just a big giant teddy bear type cat. Maybe I shouldn't say that anyway, because he doesn't play like one. He's a monster on the court, but he's all heart off the court. And to hear him and Walter go back and forth and so forth and so on, once again, was like, I think in the documentary, I said it was like attending a lecture series. But as I rethought that, it was more like, you know, like I said, sitting in the front row of your favorite class with your favorite teacher, talking about your favorite subject, and one you happen to get a good grade in. Speaking of Kevin Garnett, we are in Minnesota with Kevin doing a photo shoot. You've seen the photographs. He's taken some beautiful photographs of Kevin Garnett. While we're doing one shoot, Kevin does me a solid. He calls my partner's son, all right? The kid's in high school. He's in California, we're in Minnesota. Kevin Garnett calls him, the kid, and asks him if he's doing his homework. What's his favorite subject in school? So forth and so on. The kid is like, yeah, I'm doing my homework right now. Who's this? What's your favorite subject? History. Who's this? Kevin Garnett. All right. But that's the kind of guy he is. All right. Now, this is a photo shoot. We're not here for that. Okay? We're not here for that. Walter's got to be creative and he's got to deliver. But this is what's going on. Once again, you've seen the pictures, but Walter's a whole lot more than, all right? Which brings me to this point. The athletes. I wish you could see what I saw. Major League Baseball players, hockey players, Wayne Gretzky. Eesh, what a guy, man. I wish you could see what I saw in terms of we only see these athletes perform, the game time. But as a result of being with Walter, I'm able to see and experience them off the court, off the field. And oftentimes you see how much they mean to people, and how much they give of themselves. You'd be so proud. It's hard for me to watch a game now. It didn't matter the sport, because I'm a fan of everybody's, because I know and I've seen how hard they work, how much it means to them, how talented they are, and how much they give. Children's orthopedic hospitals. These guys are donating money and visiting. Cancer wards. Burn wards. And when somebody asks me, who do you want to win? Hey man, all of them. I just want to watch a good game because I have had a chance to witness who these people are as people. And I truly wish that on any and everybody. It'll touch you. It's very touching. All right, I got to get back to my playbook. And don't think I was about to squirt a few. The ceiling's leaking. Or somebody just spit on my head. But anyway, all right, I'm going to go back to my homework. All right. Okay. Time out. Because this is interesting, and this is real interesting, and this is God. This is all about God. I was in junior high school, 1966, 67. I have a friend, a dear, dear friend, Dougie Turner. He says, man, you got to come over. I have something to show you. It was Sports Illustrated. I had never seen anything like this before. I didn't know the publication existed. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing this publication of all these athletes. Bob Hayes, Bob Gibson, Dick Butkus, Jim Brown, Roger Staubach, Otis Taylor. I'm seeing photographs of, Vince Lombardi and those Packers. And one of my favorites, or two of my favorites, Lenny Moore, who played for the Baltimore Colts and wore spats, and Ben Hawkins, who was a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, number 18. And Ben, he put his helmet on, but he wouldn't put the chin strap. And man, I thought that was so cool. Not only was he doing his thing as a receiver, but he did it with style. Taking off that chin strap, or not wearing that chin strap, and running those patterns and catching that ball and breaking free. headed towards the end zone, up I-95. Oh man, all right. I thought I had seen it all. Except when I got to that point in high school, I wasn't taking my chin strap off. The reality set in. That's not a good idea. And I'm no Ben Hawkins. All right, back to the playbook. Oh, so I was talking about Dougie. All right, Dougie. Dougie introduced me to Sports Illustrated. And so from that point on, now I'm getting familiar with all of the Sports Illustrated photographers, and I'm seeing all the photographs. Johnny Rogers, Ray Nitschke, okay, Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale. And I'm starting to get interested in photography. I'm starting to get interested in photography. It was Sports Illustrated and National Geographics. Dougie's mother got the subscription for Sports Illustrated, and then I had a girlfriend in high school whose parents got a subscription for her and her family, National Geographic. So between the two, I'm bouncing back and forth, all right? So now I'm starting to develop a love and appreciation for photography. And that's when I was initially and first introduced to Walter. 15, 16 years later, I'm on board with Sports Illustrated. And we're on our way to my first Super Bowl. First black quarterback of a Super Bowl game, Doug Williams, formerly from Grambling College. And I followed him when he was in college. And now here he is, the quarterback of the Washington Redskins, and they're in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl was in San Diego. And I'm riding with another photographer. I hadn't even met Walter at this point. All right, I had never met Walter. We didn't know each other. All right, I knew of him, but I didn't know him. And I'm riding with the photographer that actually got me involved with Sports Illustrated, first got me on board, Peter Reed Miller, who I'm eternally grateful for, as are members of my family. All right, everything worked for the good as a result of Peter turning me on and bringing me on board. But anyway, we're riding to San Diego, and halfway there, we stop at a hotel and pick up one Walter Iooss, all right? Now we riding down in the Lincoln Continental. Let me add that nice part to it. We riding in the Lincoln. I'm sitting in the passenger seat up front. Walter gets in the back. All right, hey, this is Walter Iooss, this is Welch. Hey, how you doing? How are you? All of a sudden, the door closes, and an arm slides up with a cassette in it. Remember those cassette deck? He sticks a cassette, and it's James Brown. Okay? So now it's me, Peter, Walter, his assistant, and James Brown. And we riding to the Super Bowl. And from one song to the other, I'm starting to, with the gangster lean, you know what I'm saying? You know what time it is, all right? So that was my initial meeting with Walter. And then the first job we did was Joe Montana. And that's another thing about Walter. I don't know if you know or not. He loves some R&B, some soul music. He loves him some Otis Redding, some Aretha, some Sam and Dave. All right. Some Ray Charles, big time. But now he would backslide. He'd listen to the Bee Gees, some Elvis. But for the most part, he was R&B, soul music. All right. That was sort of like a passion. We always, you know, the Four Tops, the Motown crew, so forth and so on. Stevie Wonder. He was even the one that turned me on to 50 Cent. No, not 50 Cent, Eminem. All right. I wasn't that old yet. I knew who 50 Cent was. I had a little party in me still. But he turned me on to Eminem. And he liked him some Teddy Riley. We would listen to a little Teddy Riley on occasion. But yeah, he was a big music fan. Anyway, which leads me to the next transition. I worked with Walter 20 plus years. About 6, 7, 8 years in, I'm thinking to myself, man, what is it about this guy that he's not just like, cool and real cool. He's special. You could tell he was a different kind of cat, in the sense that I worked with a lot of photo crews and a lot of photographers, and there are a lot of great people out there. And then there's Walter, and it was simple as that. And I remember wondering and getting to the point where I was like, and I asked him, Walter, who are your people, man, and where are they from? I got to try to figure this out, man, because it's become a thing. I mean, and I knew he grew up in the city, New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey, and he lived in New York. And then I found out his father was a jazz musician. Okay, pieces are coming together. But still, man, you a different kind of cat, man. You're real cool. Now, don't get it twisted. He wasn't Mr. Rogers. He didn't walk around in a red vest. I don't think he even has a red sweater. You better not. Anyway, he was a man's man. He was a regular guy. He just gave me the impression that he was smiling on the inside. That he enjoyed being Walter. It was like he got it. He had the talent to appreciate people, the ability to communicate with people. He had, an amazing, adequate sense of humor. And you had all this up, and it was like gumbo. You throwing all this stuff in, and you got you a gumbo special a la Walter. All right, and I guess I was the cornbread with a lot of butter. But anyway, and it was amazing to me because I didn't hear somebody say this. I didn't hear it or see it in a movie. I didn't read it in a book when I had the thought that if somebody asked me what kind of a guy Walter was, I say he's an easygoing guy, man, a real pleasant person. I'd say he was smiling on the inside, man. And that was infectious. That was infectious because I worked with Walter, and sometimes it would be Walter, myself, and maybe one or two other people. Sometimes it'd just be Walter and I. Sometimes there would be other people, 4 or 5. Sometimes the crew would be 9 or 12 or 14. And as cool and happy as Walter always seemed to be, he always seemed to be even that much more happier when everybody was happy. He always made everybody feel like they were a part of the project, that they mattered, that their input, suggestions, so forth and so on, were very important to the success of the overall project. And people responded to that in kind, in the sense that nobody was ever late, and nobody ever forgot their supplies. Nobody ever, okay? Everybody was at their best. Everybody was happy, felt appreciated, respected, and I said appreciated for their talents, what they brought to the project. And see, these were very accomplished people. You know, these were very accomplished people in their own right. And I'm talking about hair and makeup and wardrobe. You know, I would work with these people. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I couldn't wait to see them, to see what it was that they had just finished doing. What was your last project? What's your next one? One makeup stylist was on his way to Cannes Film Festival. He was doing the makeup to all of these international movie stars and so forth. One makeup artist was the spokesperson for this international line of makeup, cosmetic products. He was the spokesperson. You don't just, you know, show up one day and apply for that job. You have to work your way up the ladder, man. So these were accomplished and talented people in their own right. They were the best of the best. And now, that's not to say that other crews weren't like that. A lot were, some weren't. I worked with some crews where Adam didn't know Eve. You know what I'm saying? Adam and Eve. And that's okay. We're not there for that. We're not there to share recipes or end up on each other's Christmas card lists. We're there to do a job and ultimately get a paycheck. But like I said, it seemed like Walter was just so, you know, welcoming, or he was so smooth that you couldn't help but, it was infectious. In fact, the video crew. Now, I told you on a number of occasions I was able to come up with, I impressed myself with the thought that he had a smile on the inside. And there was something else I said earlier that I was impressed with my having thought about. Oh, you've seen the pictures, but let me tell you what you didn't see. I was impressed with myself for coming up with that. But I'm not the only one. We had the video crew, Rob and Julie, all right? They came up with this thought. What would Walter do? What would Walter do? What I want you to understand is that our jobs and working in this country or overseas, every hour wasn't happy hour. And it wasn't like the company picnic. I mean, not only was everybody trying to be creative, but there were obstacles and there were things that happened. Equipment got broken. Equipment got lost. Equipment got stolen. Man, I had no parts of that. People got sick. One of our crew members got so sick that they were hospitalized once we got back to the States. And we were told, and the way he told it to me was that it was just in the nick of time, and that's real talk. Any later, and it wouldn't have had a happy ending. He wouldn't have survived it. So I just want you to understand, it's not like, you know, oh, we were having cupcakes all day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. People were working and working hard, and they were good at what they were doing. They were the greatest of the greats. They were goats in their own right. When I say that Walter's demeanor, his DNA was just so, and the fact that it was infectious, I worked with him for 20 some years. And here's something that happened all over the world. Again, whether it was the United States or overseas. And it was like, it was scripted. It was like I was watching my favorite movie over and over and over again. And this is what I mean. We would have drivers to drive us and our equipment to the various locations. The drivers would facilitate our shoots. They would pick us up at the hotel in the mornings. And Walter would get up front. I'd get in the back with the other assistant, either Touchdown Tommy Ober or my man Troy Robertson. And we'd be on our way to the location. And Walter's engaging the driver. You know, this is what we're doing or trying to do. These are the locations I have listed. What do you think? What would you suggest in terms of this particular time of the day, the morning, the afternoon, the late night light? Now he's talking to the driver. Now it's gone from that to family, what island are you from, or what part of the, area are you from? And they're going back and forth. And then it's lunchtime. Where do you suggest we go eat? What's your favorite spot? All right? And we'd go there. Now, understand, these are third world countries. There's no parking lot. Look out for that tree. Or watch that stump. And what's that over there? A bear or a lion or both? All right? It was real. Anyway, we're at lunch, and he welcomes the driver to have lunch with us. Now, these drivers aren't used to that. They work for news crews, they freelance, they work for photo crews, they work for movie crews, and oftentimes, and whatever, there's a division, there's a separation and so forth and so on. You do that thing and that's what you guys do, and we do this and that's what we do. And the two, but in this case, and Walter would always invite them, but they're like, well, I got to stay with the van and the equipment. No, we'll bring the expensive stuff in the restaurant with us. And, we got the windows open, the restaurant. We're sitting here, we can see everything. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Come on in. So now, the second day or the third day, the second day, the morning of the second day, like I said, it would read like a script. I would be out early because there were things that I had to do in terms of the equipment. If we were supposed to leave at 4:30 or 4:45 a.m., I was always out 20 to 30 minutes earlier. So I'm having quiet time with the particular drivers, and they, like I said, all over the world, they'd say the same thing. Hey, this guy's real cool, man. And they'd start asking me questions about him. Where can I see his work? Now, this was before the internet and all of that, so they're going to try to find a magazine, if they can, wherever they can and so forth. But they're going to try to follow him and his work. But he made them feel important. He made them feel necessary. And they were. He brought out the best in them. Now, understand, we had a list of locations. We had production companies. We had all of these things. So you didn't have to ask anybody anything. All right, we had enough input prior to the project. But he would just do that. He was a very engaging guy. He was a very engaging guy, man. And he made everybody feel, like I said, like they mattered. And ultimately they did, because he brought the best out in you. He brought the best out in you. It's a lot like what LeBron's doing for the Lakers right now. All right, he's bringing out the best. Okay? All right, I got to go back to the playbook because I got to figure out what direction we're going to go in. I'll be right back. Hold up. Let me see. Oh, this is going fast. I feel okay about what's going on. I hope you do. Let's see. Okay. Wow. All right. Well, we're about to come to a rapid end here. Because I got two stories I want to tell you that sort of sum up a lot of what I've been talking about. Man, oh man. We are in Vietnam, and we're shooting the swimsuit issue. God, I hope I pronounced this right. Nha Trang, Vietnam, which happens to be in South Central Vietnam. Now, I'm from LA. You say South Central, I'll let you fill in the blanks, all right? Now, I have to go all the way on the other side of the world and end up in South Central. It's all good, all right? But don't get it twisted. Vietnam is a communist country, okay? They're trying to do their thing. After that setback, you know, the two wars, the one with the French and the Americans, that seemed to last forever. They're trying to do their thing now. They send somebody from Hanoi, the capital, down to South Central, the middle of the country, to, you know, I'll put it this way. The cat was cool and he was young. He was real cool. But there's rules, man. This is not the USA. This ain't the French Riviera. This ain't Monaco. There are a lot of things that don't fly here. It's Vietnam. And one thing was, you can't be 60 feet from the beach. Now, if you know Walter, and I hadn't said anything about this before, he's still got a lot of 14-year-old in him. When you tell him he can't do something, whoa, all right? Oftentimes, stuff that he wasn't supposed to do or couldn't do, there he goes. And I'm in the middle. So if it all comes tumbling down, well, it was his idea. I'm driving, but okay? All right. We're in Vietnam. You can't be 60 feet from the shore, from the water. That lasted all of maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days. Because on the third day, the beach is like 20 minutes that way. We eventually ended up in downtown Nha Trang, all right, shooting swimsuit, all right? But what happened was, starting with day one into day two, the guy was watching us work. And I'm showing him Polaroids. And he's realizing, hey, man, these aren't just, vacation pictures. This is not the Hanoi Times. It's not even the LA Times. He's realizing that, yeah, we're taking pictures, but every time we take a picture, it's evolving. It's evolving. It's evolving. Because every time you take a picture, you're thinking about the next picture and how high or low the sun's going to be and the shadows and the reflections off the water and this color suit and this accessories and so forth and so on. You could see it evolving. And like I said, everybody was made to feel important and everybody was included. So I'm showing the guy Polaroids the first day, the second day, the third day, and he's beyond impressed, like, whoa, wow, this is amazing. Wow, that guy's good, yeah. But you're getting kind of far from the shore, from the water. You're not supposed to be more than 60 feet. So first 2 or 3 days, Walter, not too far from the shore. Walter, not too far from the beach. Third, fourth day, he's tired of saying, Walter this, Walter that. He's just confiding in me. His head is on my shoulder. We besties now, right? I'm all he has left. So he's like, at this point, man, you know, Hanoi's going to hear about this. They're going to hear about this in the office. That's day 3. Day 4, man, I might lose my job. No, you'll be all right, man. It's cool. You see everything. Nobody's, you know, everything, all right? Day 5, it's like, man, I got kids. Okay, man, you'll be all right. And like I said, I don't know if it was day 4 or day 5 into a 12-day shoot. The beach is 20 minutes that way, all right? And then the next day, we in the middle of downtown. Not train. Bless her heart, the models got on. They call it a bikini. I don't know what to call it. It was beautiful, the accessories, all that was cool, but anyway. Point I'm making is that Walter was so endearing and in a sense so bold and true to his art and what it was that he was doing that you could not help but just, you know. And then there's the cigarette shoot. Okay? Then there's the cigarette shoot. Now we in Montana or Wyoming. Same thing. I'm from LA, same thing. But you never seen anything prettier. I can't remember which because I've worked in both states. Absolutely phenomenal. Beautiful. Once again, there is a God. And if you haven't, you should. Montana, big sky country, that's real talk. So we're in one of those 2 states and we're doing a cigarette shoot. It's like a 9 or 10 day shoot. Big crew, man, big crew. In the sense that hair, makeup, that might be 4 people. Wardrobe, 3 or 4 or 5 people. Assistants, 3 or 4. Big shoot. And we're working with some cowboys, like 15 of them. Real cowboys. But I'm still impressed. I don't know, that was 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. And I'll never forget these guys. Card carrying, big hat wearing, horse riding, cattle wrangling cowboys. And these cats are phenomenal. Athletes in their own right. I don't think there's anything they can't do in regards to being a cowboy. Anyway, all right? So we've been there 6, 7, 8 days, and it's all good. The shoot is winding down. We have 1 or 2 more days left. And this particular morning, we get to the location, we're still in the van. And the cowboys and the extras are already there. As we pull up, I don't know how this happened, but I'm the first one to open the door. Just as Walter turns up the volume on 50 Cent. All right, we left the hotel, and I told you, he likes him some music, and he likes him some 50 Cent, and we riding, all right? But just as we get there, and I open the door and step out, he turns up the volume, and now 50 Cent is blaring. And this is real talk. the head cowboy or the head wrangler says, there's women and children here. We don't listen to that kind of music, partner. What can I say, man? If I had 4 mothers and 8 grandmothers, none of them would believe that that wasn't my CD. Now we're going from cassettes to CDs now. But none of them would believe that's not my CD. What can I say, man? Anyway, it goes without saying, I'll never forget that moment, man. Anyway, but that's that 14-year-old in him, you know? That's that 14-year-old in him. But I gotta tell you, 12, 13 days later, when it was time to say our goodbyes, man, I was invited back. We were all invited back. It became that. Next time you come back, we're gonna put you on a horse and we're gonna show you how to use that rope. No, you're not. I appreciate the sentiment, but if I do come back, I'm gonna get in that canoe and sit in the lake, all right? Ain't gonna be no running with the horses. All right, so let me see what else I got. Don't go anywhere. Okay, all right. I feel like I've made my point. Except, I want to dedicate the rest of this to Walter and his family, his children, his wife, Eva, and his grandchildren. I had been with Walter for about 16, 17 years up to this point. And all of a sudden he said one day, "What's the golden rule?" And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? What's the golden rule? Now, I knew what the golden rule was, but what, are you talking about something else, or what? Is this a riddle or a joke? No, the golden rule. Treat others as you would like them to treat you. Well, Walter, that's who you are. You've always been like that. Why at this late date are we having this conversation? And what I realized, now, I'm no Sigmund Freud, but I'm no Sigmund Fraud either. And what I realized was that, I'm somewhere in the middle, but what I realized is that he was revisiting the issue because he was instilling this into his grandchildren, Gemma and Parker. All right? So, as we speak, I think Gemma is elementary school age. Well, they both are. I think Parker might be in the 2nd grade now, or 3rd, or close to it. But at the time of that conversation, I realized that he was revisiting that issue because he was instilling that in them. And I want to say to them that you're going to see a lot of pictures that your grandfather took. They're going to last forever. This country, this world, wherever there's a conversation about photography, sports photography, or Sports Illustrated, your grandfather's name and those photographs are going to be a part of the conversation. It's going to go on forever. You're going to meet people that are going to tell you how friendly, how cool your grandfather was, all right? It was important to me that I get a chance to say what I wanted to say to you. The stuff that ended up on the editing floor in regards to his character and the effect he had on people's lives worldwide, well, I wanted to say my piece. All right? And Parker, you look so much like your father, Christian. I don't know if I can ever handle meeting you, man. I'd probably just fall right off the table, man. I've seen pictures of you, and you look just like Daddy Christian. Speaking of Daddy Christian, I'll close with this. The first time I met Christian and your uncle Bjorn, they had flown out here from New York because their father was photographing Magic Johnson. That's the first time I met him. I met him later on when we were photographing Michael Jordan. Or I saw him later on, years later, we were photographing Michael Jordan. I picked you guys up at the airport. Christian was about 14, I guess 15, and Bjorn was like 12 or 13, But it was when the Cinnabons had hit the airport. Remember the concession stand? The Cinnabons? The cinnamon rolls with all the extra icing. So they started popping up in airports all over the country. And now all of a sudden the airports smells like grandma's in the kitchen. Every airport you land at smells like a bakery. So here they come, out of baggage claim, with bags full of Cinnabons. Mouths moving, one in the hand, all right? And that's when I first met him. And I'll never forget that, nor will I forget what goes with it. It's like Bjorn, I'm watching you, kid. Your daddy could be Pope 1, 2, 3, and 4, but if you get them sticky fingers on the interior of my truck, all right? I'll let you fill in the blanks. Traveling throughout this country was a blessing. Meeting the athletes was a blessing. Working with Walter in photography, which I was a big fan of, was a blessing. And meeting those kids under those circumstances, for me, was a blessing. And not only did I get paid, I was able to, but I have memories, man. Special, special memories that I've had with me for, a while now, and that I will continue to enjoy. Walter seems like the gift that keeps giving. Once again, every time I see a photograph, it brings up memories and I revisit that reality. And that's the same with people all over the world. We would be in these third world countries doing the swimsuit issue or whatever, and Walter would be photographing whatever he was photographing. And there were always people around watching. And he had a Polaroid camera that he kept with him. I mean, he kept right next to him because he would back up and walk over and take a Polaroid of a couple of kids together, the older brother, the older sister with the younger brother and sister, the mother or the auntie and the grandmother with the kids, or the two old men together, they happen to be brothers or whatever the case may be. And he'd give these folks the Polaroid and just go right back to what he was doing. Part of my job was to keep the Polaroid nearby and the film inside. And he just did that, all right? But in some cases, a lot of these people didn't have photographs of themselves and their family members. And I was told that by them. Oh, this is the only picture I have. So what I'm saying is that he touched a lot of people around the world just being who he was. And he didn't have to. He was there to do a job, but that's just who he was. Like I said, he seemed to be at his happiest, and he felt most fulfilled when he was having that effect, when we would be photographing the athlete or the model. And it never failed that at some point, a bunch of kids, we'd let them look through the long lenses. You want to see something funny. You see a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old look through a long lens. Not only have they never seen a lens that, they don't know what, okay, not only have they not seen lenses, but they haven't seen one that, and they don't know what this thing's doing. And they look in there and all of a sudden, and they look up at you. Like, they look up at you. Some of them just look at you, kind of like amazed. Some of them just laugh. Some of them, all of a sudden you see the long lens moving this way and moving that way and back this way. And it's like, all right, you little knucklehead. Okay. And then they would look up and smile. But you see, that's what I got in addition to a paycheck. I got to see it and hear it and see it in people's eyes, adults, children, again, all over the world. The result of Walter sharing who he was and his magic with them. Peace. I'm good, man. Oh, one more thing. Now I'm pretty proud of myself because I thought of this all on my own. How do you spell Sports Illustrated? We call it SI for short. You spell it SIOOSS. SIOOSS. That's how you spell Sports Illustrated. At least that's how I do. Okay.